The Gospel according to John. Jesus says, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you. And I appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask him in my name. I am giving you these commands so that you may love one another." Gospel of our Lord. Please be seated. And any children, please. Well, grace, peace, and love be with you all in the name of our greatest friend, Jesus Christ. Amen. So growing up, my parents had opinions as to the type of people that I should be friends with. As a parent myself, I have had similar opinions about my kids, and if you are parents, I'm sure you've thought about this as well. If we got to pick our children's friends, I imagine it would be some derivation on this person. Someone who's faithful, joyful, honest. A person that your children can laugh with, cry with, and most importantly, trust that they're going to stay with them through thick and thin. That also helps if they're the kind of person that keeps their nose clean and flies right in the world. Now that is a very tall order. And I have made exactly one friend like that in my entire life. And I'm pretty sure my mom and dad like her very much. Because including our dating life for 30 years, that's been my wife. However, the summer after I finished 7th grade, my family moved from the inner city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, out to a suburb. And once 8th grade began, I started making friends, and the very first person that I became friends with was this guy named Josh. Now, Josh is a lot of things, but one thing he's not is the kind of friend that my parents would have picked. Because whenever I got in trouble, and boy did that happen a lot, who was with me? Josh, every single time. That pattern was so consistent that at some point my parents told me I wasn't allowed to hang around with Josh. Just being seen walking down the street with him, I could get in trouble for. Now, I did lose contact with him for several years after high school, but when I was in my mid-20s, I happened to be in my hometown. I ran into him. Our friendship rekindled. I still talk to him to this day. As we sat that night reminiscing over a drink, I was laughing as I was telling him this story about how my parents said that I wasn't allowed to be friends with him, and he just about spit out his drink laughing because when he was a teenager, he was forbidden to hang around with that new city kid named Rick, because every time he got in trouble, guess who he was with? Well, that prohibition never stopped us from being friends. It didn't work. But we did understand that there was risk involved in our friendships. Now, neither one of us then or now are very Jesus-like, but similar to us, Jesus understood in those waning hours of his life that his friends were going to face trouble simply for knowing him. He tells them that. If the powers that be hate you, Jesus warns his friends, know that they hated me first. When they persecute me, Jesus tells them, they will persecute you also. Simply because you're my friend, Jesus says. Now, a big part of what the Romans and the religious leadership did not like, could not stand about Jesus, was simply the company that he kept. He befriended tax collectors. He healed lepers, other people on the margins of society. He befriended women who had had the temerity to live outside of the social norm of wife and property. And what about Simon Peter? Let me tell you, he was not the kind of friend that your mom would have picked for you. See, Peter acted first and thought second. He didn't really seem very careful. He wasn't very cautious. He certainly wasn't considerate. And in fact, most of the time, Peter was exactly the opposite. He was impulsive and flighty, and he was reckless. I mean, Peter tried walking on water in the middle of a storm. He was the one that pulled out a weapon during the conflict in the Garden of Gethsemane. And most damning of all, as soon as things got just a little bit difficult, Peter flat out denied that he even knew who Jesus was. And he was asked that by a servant girl around a campfire. He wasn't even talking to an authority figure, and he still denied him. So a friend like Peter, your mom would tell you that he's the kind of friend that would drag you down. And Peter does drag Jesus down. See, Jesus lays down his life to make right everything that Peter had gotten wrong. But he did it willingly. He lays down his life to make right everything that Peter and you and me and all of the rest of Jesus' questionable friends have gotten wrong. You see, it is precisely because Jesus' taste in friends is so questionable that we even have the privilege of knowing him. Because it is not our good actions that draws Jesus to us. It is the worst of us that brings out the best in him. Jesus went around forgiving and healing and befriending who? The least, the lost, the last, and the lowly. In short, it was the bad sheep, not the good sheep. That kind of stinks. So where do we find this good news that we're supposed to take from that? Well, it pulls right out of the life and the actions of Jesus himself. See, we have this life of forgiveness and mercy and radical trust in the goodness of God, and it becomes our task through the actions of Jesus to exhibit those behaviors as well. Jesus calls his disciples not servants today, but friends. And he reminds his disciples that they are not sitting around that table with him because they chose to. He chose them. My favorite way to think about this is our waters of baptism. And I think back to Easter when we welcomed Clara in baptism. That is the greatest illustration of what Jesus is showing us here. Because she did not choose Jesus on Easter. He chose her. And even those of us who come to faith later in life as adults, as Paul says, are chosen in Christ before the foundations of the world. There are many choices that we make every day through our whole lives, but remember that all of those choices come after God chose us. Because God chooses. God loves the loveless, loves sinners, loves the enemies. Jesus calls all of them his friends, and he shares a table with them. Jesus chose you to be his friend. He pulls us in with these promises of adventure and forgiveness, a life that means something and a better future than we can ever possibly imagine. And he makes good on those promises every single time. That love, that friendship, it flows from Jesus into us and then from us out to the whole world. In today's reading, Jesus reminds us that we need to keep his commandments because he is preparing to leave, and he wants his friends to know that this work of friendship and love that has come from Jesus is now flowing into and outward through them, his disciples. Jesus tells them to abide in his love. They're instructed to accept God's love, but also to then pass that love on to others. He doesn't tell them to reflect that love back to God like some type of human mirror. Rather, he tells them to be a lens for God's love and direct it through them and out. Love one another as I have loved you. Here Jesus is defining not just a love between Jesus and Peter, and Jesus and Thomas, and Jesus and Philip, Jesus and John, so on and further. He's talking about a love between Peter and Thomas, and John and Philip. And that love then extends out from Thomas to Richard, Peter to Allie, John to Fred, Andrew to Kathy, from the disciples to each and every one of us. And if they were called to be a lens for God's love, then we certainly are to be that lens also. We are called to live for one another, called to extend our loving hand to one another. And love for your neighbor, that extends beyond the people that you know. It is beyond the people that you like, and it is beyond the people that you agree with. Now, the reality is, today we are living in deeply divisive times. It seems like it's getting more normalized to look at people we disagree with and see them as the other. Now, once we see someone as the other, the risk is that we can fall into this trap of seeing that other as fundamentally different than us. And once those other people have been defined in your heart as different, it is a dangerous slide to seeing them as less than. And once they're less than, you can end up seeing them as less than human or less worthy of this unconditional love. It is here that I think back to our second reading today. In 1 John, a few verses before our reading, it says, "Those who say, 'I love God,' and hate their brothers and sisters are liars. Those who love God must love their brothers and sisters. And you are all my brothers and sisters, my siblings. If you have helped me or if you have wronged me, you're my siblings. If you are my personal Judas or I have been yours, you're my siblings. Whether you are here, whether you are at work, whether you are out trying to find work, whether you are housed or unhoused, no matter where you live, no matter what nationality you are, where you were born, or how you found yourself on our shores, or even what kind of documentation you might or might not have, you are all my siblings. Remember, We are all of us, all of humanity are creations of God. And God loves them just as much as God loves you and me. Jesus laid down his life for his friends. Friends, one of which was in the process of betraying him. Friends, one of which was about to deny he even knew him. Friends, all of whom ran and hid and flat out abandoned him. And yet, Jesus laid down his life for all of them. Jesus never failed them because Jesus is our friend through thick and thin. He is the one who helps bear our burdens, lift us in our sorrow, and shares our darkness and our despair when it comes our way. He is the friend that your parents would choose for you. He is the friend that Dennison and Elise chose for Clara. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. Jesus loves you. Jesus calls you his friend. So today, let's be a lens for God's love. Love your neighbor. Love the stranger. Love all of God's wonderful and special creation. Lift all of them up and share in their burdens. Amen.